Welcome back, everyone, for episode 2 of the One-on-Ones podcast with myself, Harry Douglas, and my boy, Coty Sensabaugh, on the Filter 12 Network, presented by Bet River Sportsbook. Now, Coty, guess what, my man?
We here.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. Coty, we got football tonight, man. We back.
We back at it, man.
Football tonight, man. The season is starting. Everybody's excited. I know you're excited. I'm excited. But, man, Coty, we got to tap into this first, man, because we both played this game at the high school, college, NFL level. But we're going to keep it in college for right now. What was it like, man, that getting ready for that first game, right? Preparing for that first game, man. What was that feeling like in your body, bro?
Man, I was excited. I think back to my senior year at Clemson. I knew my senior year was going to be big the way I had prepared all offseason, and I was coming off of 4 straight years of being a rotational player, but preparing like a starter. So this was my moment to shine. All the guys that played my position before me had went on to the NFL. So I was just ready for my time to shine, man, and the work had been put in, so it was time to showcase it. How about you? I'm pretty sure you had a couple years starting before your last year. You know, I was one of those late bloomers, but what did you feel like, man?
Man, I tell you, it felt so good. And I tell you, early on in my career, you know, people always talk about butterflies, but for me, I never got butterflies, bro, because I always felt like I prepared. But I tell you, the older I got in my career, I think I got even more excited, right? Because that's when you start seeing the dreams of becoming an NFL player, and those dreams they're getting closer and closer to those dreams becoming true, right? So I was amped up, bro, and I've always been like the Energizer Bunny on my team. So, you know what I mean? I was always hyping everybody up, make sure everybody was loose, making sure everybody was ready. You know what I mean? Bringing that funk to the locker room, bringing that funk.
Hey, you was an electrical socket, bro. I remember that in Nashville. But, hey, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I was the exact opposite. I was nervous. I was nervous as shit with butterflies from high school, college, NFL, even to my last year in the NFL, bro. I was always butterfly before games, but it wasn't so much being scared. It was more so excited and being passionate about that shit. Like, you put in the work and it means something to you. So you really care how you go out there performing, especially guys like us. We in space. So everything we do, somebody can see and critique you. So you got to be on your P's and Q's from snap 1 to snap 80, 60, however many you play. So that's how I went about it. But I always had butterflies, man. So to the young guys out there, if you still get butterflies, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay.
It's okay. Yep. It's okay. Everybody's different, man. Everybody approach everything different. And if y'all wonder what me and Coty going to be doing this entire season, we're going to be talking about ACC football, breaking down ACC football, breaking down matchups. And I want to jump right into this, man, because tonight, NC State, Coty, NC State, they're taking on South Florida. And I'll tell you this, NC State head coach Dave Duren, I thought he did a great job last year. He's really building that culture, man, and getting those players to buy into his system. When I look at this team, man, last year they went 8-4. Their only losses were to, I believe, Virginia Tech, UNC, Miami, and Kentucky, right? But when I look at this team and the way they're built, and I start offensively, Coty, right? They got Devin Leary, a guy who actually got hurt last year, broke his fibula, but now he's coming back, was able to go through spring, so that's a good thing for them. But they have 2 solid running backs. It's like they got 2 at every position, right? They got 2 solid running backs in Zonovan Knight, Ricky Person Jr., and then they have 2, I think, outstanding receivers in Emeka Emenzi. I'm really, really high on Emeka Emenzi. The young man can play the game of football at another level, man, when it comes to the wide receiver position. Thayer Thomas, Devin Carter at the wide receiver position. They have a left tackle, man. And listen, I love big boys. I love them big boys because them big boys get nasty, Coty. I love when them big boys get nasty, man. Akeem Ikanu, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name the correct way. But when I look at, man, this offense, the way they built and the momentum they have coming off last year being 8-4, I think they have a chance in the ACC this year to actually make some noise. You look at them defensively, they're returning the leading tackler in the ACC, Peyton Wilson. So I'm looking at that. Yes, linebacker, man, and I think the tandem they have at the linebacker positions, I think they're decent up front. They have guys in the back end. So when I'm looking at the lines for this game, you're looking at the better lines, right? I think NC State is -18, and I think the total was 59. If you betting the total, I'm going over. I'm betting over because I believe in NC State offensively. I believe in Dave Durden and what he has going on. I don't believe in South Florida. So I don't believe in South Florida.
Hey,
and I was born in Tampa. I was born in Tampa. Moved to Atlanta when I was 4. I was born in Tampa General. But I don't believe in South Florida like I believe in NC State, bro.
Bro, listen, South Florida gave up 40 plus a game last year. I hope they don't hate me for this, but a lot of those guys on the coaching staff, I played with at Clemson.
I was just about to say that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Jeff Scott is the head coach at Clemson. I mean, at South Florida now. He was when I first got there, crazy story, Jeff Scott was a GA somewhat with the D-backs. So he was on defense when I first got to Clemson. And then he moved into the offensive side of the ball with the receivers. And he took off, became co-offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach at South Florida. But Daquan Bowers, Xavier Dye, Quan and Christian, all those position coaches down there played at Clemson with me. So
that's crazy.
Man. Get that defense right, man. Because if you giving up 40 a game, boy, it's gonna be tough to win. I don't care who you playing.
Hey, that's one thing I love about us being in the media. Hey, when we're in the media, we can't spare nobody. We got to call a spade a spade. Y'all got to get it right down there in South Florida because NC State is looking to make a name for themselves again this year like they did in 2020.
Yeah, now, I think they got 18 starters coming back, so that lets you know everything you need to know.
Yes, and like I said earlier, man, I love what Dave Durden is doing with this ball club. And Coty, it's important, man, when you have a ball club and you can get guys to buy into the system, right? And then the first year you might not have that much success, but then at some point you start to see that success and you start to feel it, right? Once you start to feel that success, now you like, okay, Coach was telling me the right thing. I'm rocking with Coach. I'm going to run through a wall for Coach. Coach was telling me stuff I can get to the next level with.
Right. I think back on my career and the times I played the best was when I had coaches that I could trust. When you can trust your coach and you know he's giving you the truth, that's all you can ask for. Because you would rather hear a hard truth than a soft lie. You know, it's a saying that goes like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but nothing great comes from comfort zones. We as human beings, ironically, love being comfortable. And that's the beautiful thing about football. Ain't shit comfortable about it. I don't care whether you paid, whether you a 5-star, whether you a no-star, whether you undrafted free agent in the NFL. There's nothing comfortable about it because every day is truly an interview.
You want to know my favorite saying, man? You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because comfortability drives complacency. When you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, it allows you to grow in ways that you never even imagined, man.
Bro, shout out my coach, Tim Walton, when I was with the Giants, my 5th year in the league. He's with the Jacksonville Jaguars now, and that was the first thing he said to me when I walked through those doors. He said, hey, man, you a hell of a player, but you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm like, golly, boy, you talking about getting hit with a ton of bricks? Because that's basically challenging you like, yo, you got everything you need, but it's you stopping you. And it's all right here.
That's dope. So NC State, I'm taking NC State. Who you taking, Coty?
Come on, man. That's a rhetorical question. Shout out to all my Clemson boys down there at USF, man. But I need to see more before I can lay some money on y'all.
All right, man. We got that game. That's the first game in the ACC tonight. So make sure y'all check that out. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet with Bet Rivers, now's the time because they're offering $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. But we're going to move on to Friday. Tomorrow, game number 2, right, of the ACC. We got the number 10 ranked UNC Tar Heels versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. And man, I don't think North Carolina really wanted this to be their first game. I don't think they really want, because when you look at the lines for this game, right? You look at the lines for this game, they have UNC -6, and the total is 64.5. That right there should tell you alone, because if UNC is ranked number 10 in the country and they have them projected to only win by 6, that should tell you right there about what they think about Justin Fuente, the head coach at Virginia Tech, and their model and the way they play a brand of football. Now, I'll tell you, for Virginia Tech, we had a tough year last year, man, with COVID, right? And Virginia Tech, they got hit hard. They got hit hard by COVID. They weren't able to play weeks, and they was just scrambling through that whole situation. So I'm looking for Virginia Tech to be better this year. And when you look at these two quarterbacks, right, you got Sam Howell, a guy who's up for the Heisman Trophy, against Braxton Burmeister, a guy who's taking over for Hendon Hooker. Now, he's not the runner that Hendon Hooker was, but I think his arm is a little bit better in the pass game than it was. But I think star power in this game, you have some star power, because Virginia Tech has a tight end who I think is the best tight end in the ACC, James Mitchell, a guy who's going to be playing on Sundays, making a lot of money. And then they also have a defensive end and a corner. They have a defensive end, Amari Barno, a guy who actually started at linebacker, but trusted, like we talked about earlier, trusted his coaches to move to defensive end. And he led the ACC last year in tackles for loss. The young man's going to be a stud, and he's just scratching the surface now. I'm telling you, Coty, he a stud, and the man just scratching the surface, because he haven't been playing defensive end for a long time. So once he has a little bit more years under his belt at that position, especially at the next level, they're gonna know what to do with him. But in the secondary, I'm gonna talk about corners. They got Jermaine Waller. And when you look at Virginia Tech, look at the corners, man, that Virginia Tech that put out in the league, right? You talking about the Kendall, Kyle Fuller.
Even going back to Macho Harris and Brandon Flowers.
Yes, Brandon Flowers, Macho Harris.
J-Ron Hosley. And then you have Cam Chancellor at the safety position. Caleb Farley, who left last year. I'm leaving one out. Terrell Edmonds.
I'm leaving the one out, play here in Atlanta. D'Angelo Hall. They had Jimmy Williams. They had I played against Jimmy Williams.
Man, people don't realize how big Jimmy Williams was at corner, bro. That's why they had to move him.
But they got a guy right now. They got a guy right now named Jermaine Waller, who has an opportunity this year to do some things that Caleb Farley did, not last year because he sat out, but the year before, right? And Virginia Tech, man, they're known to play good defensive football. They're known to produce corners in and out the NFL like it's no other. Man, but talk to the people, man. What are some of the traits that a good corner has to have, not just in college, but overall?
I would say the first trait a corner has to have above any and everything else is a short-term memory. Because at that position, you're going to get tested. And your ability to not get too high and not get too low is what's going to separate you and give you a chance. Because as a corner, similar to a receiver, like I said earlier, everything is in space. You're in the open field, everybody can see everything you do. And you could have one play where you have a pick six and you celebrate and going crazy. Then the very next play, you could get bombed for 80 yards. So you have to be level-headed. So I would say that's first. You better have some dog in you. Because the way –
hold on, Coty. Hold up. Say that again now. Say it again for the people. Say it again.
Hey, you better have some dog in you, because the way this game is set up now, they slinging that pill 50, 60 times a game. I mean, look at the numbers these quarterbacks is putting up. And look at the quarterback you got opposite of you. Sam Howell, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, a Heisman candidate. Like, he may have lost some receivers, may have lost some running backs. I still think he's Sam Howell. I'm looking forward and hoping he shows that to the world this year. But, man, you better be a dog, because if you're not, you will get exposed. And that goes back to confidence and the work you put in. If you put in the work, you should be confident. If you don't put in the work, it's going to be hard to fake the funk out there. Because one thing about a corner, take that back, one thing about playing corner is if you a weak link, they going to find you and they going to keep testing you until you get them off of them.
where my fishing rod at? Because when we see the what my fishing rod.
Think about it. Tell me as a receiver. Tell me I'm lying. As a receiver, when you studied film against any opponent, y'all knew who the weak link was, and y'all was probably arguing over who was going to line up against him. Because every team has a weak link. That doesn't mean he's not good, but every team has a weak link.
Want me to give you a prime example? When you look at the New England Patriots, when they played the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl years back, they had a corner. God, I can't remember his name. His name was Jalen something, but he was the weak link.
Yeah.
They completed, no lie, Coty, they probably completed 60 or 70% of their passes on that one corner.
Right.
Tom Brady said, what we going away from it for? If that's the fish, we going fishing. We're gonna throw that bait at them and we're gonna hook that line.
Man, God's honest truth, bro. My 6th year in the league, my first year in Pittsburgh, we was playing the Green Bay Packers. And I remember talking to Aaron Rodgers pregame. He wasn't playing this game. He was sitting out. And he looked me dead in my eye and said, I wish I was playing this game because I was going to come right at you. Aaron Rodgers said that to me. Because mind you, Joe Hayden and Artie Burns was the starting corners.
Oh, yeah.
A week or two before, Joe Hayden hurt his leg against the Indianapolis Colts. And to finish that game well, have a good game against the Tennessee Titans the following week is against the Green Bay Packers. As soon as he tell me that, I'm already locked in, but I'm like, I better bring my shit today because that let me know they was coming at me. It didn't matter who the quarterback was. But that's how confident he was in their game plan and the receivers on that team. Like, listen, I'm going to tell you we coming at you. What you going to do to stop it?
And, man, I'm looking forward to seeing actually Jermaine Waller go up against Josh Downs. Right, the guy who I think is going to have a big year for North Carolina. And I just think their offense, even though they lost so much, because everyone's harping on them losing the 2 running backs, losing the 2 receivers. Listen, the way Mac Brown has been recruiting, I think North Carolina going to be one of these programs where you don't worry about who's gone. It's about who's next. And they have 3 studs at the wide receiver position, Antoine Green, Josh Downs. God, I can't remember the name of
the little brother of the guy who left.
Brown, Kafre Brown, right? So they have 3 solid guys right there. And you, like you said, they have a Heisman Trophy candidate. When you have a Heisman Trophy candidate, you always have an opportunity. Always have an opportunity. And I think defensively, North Carolina, I think they're going to be even better this year. I think their defensive coordinator, Jay Bateman, I think he's going to step things up and ramp things up and get more aggressive, right? When these guys have been in the system for so long, you can be aggressive. You can take more chances. So I think we're going to see that as well, especially on the opposite side, Virginia Tech, Braxton Burmeister starting. I think they're going to try to attack him a little bit.
And another way or another reason why I think North Carolina will definitely get aggressive because they got one of the deepest secondaries in the country. Like, they got 3 really good corners that can go. They got 3 really good safeties that can go. And they're being led by Dre Bly. Great college defensive back, great NFL defensive back. So I expect UNC to knock a lot of passes down and get a lot of interceptions throughout this season. Starting with Virginia Tech.
So that's game 2. That's game 2, North Carolina versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. Who you taking? I'm taking North Carolina. Who you got?
I got UNC.
UNC, okay. All right, so we're gonna shift this thing to game 3, and this is the big one. This is the big one. It's not the biggest one of the weekend, but it's another big one.
A lot of big dogs out on this field.
You have the Miami Hurricanes versus the University of Alabama. And in that game right there, I think Alabama is favored. Alabama's minus 19. The total points in that is 61.5. And that's crazy, right? When you're facing a team that's you going against a top 15 team, and you minus 19.
And think about all the guys 19. Alabama lost.
Yes. They minus 19. Think about that, man. That's unbelievable. But you got quarterback for the Miami, De'Aaron King, versus Bryce Young. And I'm itching to see Bryce Young play. I know what De'Aaron King can do. I want to see what Bryce Young will be able to do. Last year under Mac Jones, I think this offense went more to a pro style, right, under Steve Sarkisian, because that's the kind of quarterback Mac Jones was. Now Bill O'Brien has come from the NFL, and he's the offensive coordinator. But I think they have to go more towards what they did with Tua, the RPO game. Right? Letting Bryce Young use his athleticism to help this offense in that way. And I'll tell you, a position for Bama that I'm interested to see, right, is the wide receiver position. I'm looking at this wide receiver position because they have Mechie, they have Bolden, but Jamison Williams and another guy, I think Ajay Hall, he a young buck. Man, I'm telling you, he going to be the next one at Bama. You know, Bama does nothing but produce receivers, but I think he's going to be the next one for Bama. And then they have Brian Robinson at the running back position. We know what their offensive line going to be. They graduated guys, but then they have guys that are studs. You have a guy on your starting offensive line that's doing little split box jumps like he a DB or a receiver.
Man, Bama gets these guys that's grown in labs, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not concerned one bit about Bama's new quarterback, because they had 3 quarterbacks on the roster at one time that all of them are starting quarterbacks in the NFL now. Like, that's unheard of. I'm not worried about the running backs because
Coty, not only that though. Coty, not only that, they had 4 receivers along with those 3 quarterbacks and like 3 old linemen along with those quarterbacks, and then 1 running back who all went in the first round of drafts. So they reload. You want to know the definition of we don't rebuild, reload? Is Alabama. But let me tell you about what I'm nervous about for this game, for Miami. On Miami's side, I'm worried about Miami dealing with the front 7 of Alabama. Alabama's front 7, listen, they have DJ Dale, they have Mathis, they have Christopher Allen. Then you have Will Anderson Jr. coming off the edge. You have Christian Harris. You have the transfer from Tennessee, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right, Henry Toy. I think that's how you pronounce it. But you look in the secondary, they have Malachi Goodman. They have Josh Jobe on the other side. They have a solidified safety in Jordan Battle. Now, Miami got a damn good safety too, and Buddha Boulder. Now, he a dog. But I think when it comes to this game, I think Miami's front 7, I think Miami's defense, period. I mean, Alabama's defense, period. But their front 7 can dominate this ball game if Miami's offensive line aren't on their P's and Q's. But to their credit, when you look at Alabama defense, you look at Nick Saban over the years, you look at Alabama defense, a dual quarterback has given this defense problems. You look at guys like, I'm trying to remember, you had a Deshaun Watson, you had a Cam Newton, you had a Johnny Manziel, you have a Cardale Jones, you have a Nick Marshall. All those type of quarterbacks who are dual threat guys give this type of defense problems.
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. The only chance Miami has to even compete in this game is for their quarterback to be the best player on the field. He's going to have one of those Cam Newton performances, Vince Young versus USC in the championship game, Deshaun Watson versus Alabama. He's going to have one of those performances. They're returning 19 starters, which is good, but I just think Alabama has too much. And the reason why I say that is because the way he runs around and throws the ball and makes things happen, Alabama has 4 linebackers that are NFL ready right now, today. They could go into an NFL locker room right now and compete and help any team out in the league. So I just think it's going to be tough for him. And then he's coming off this ACL injury. I, knock on wood, hope they take care of this young man and don't throw him out to the wolves and truly give him a chance to be the best version of himself and have a future playing this game. I hope they don't stunt his growth per se. Yeah, coming off of this injury. But it'll be interesting to see.
And I'm a guy who went through it, Coty. My second year, I tore my ACL, man. I tore my ACL, meniscus, MCL, and I had a bone fracture. And I tell you, I don't wish an ACL injury on my worst enemy. Man, them boys used to have to strap me to a table just to work on my flexion, right? they used to strap me to a table, and man, my little slim self, I was every bit of 160 at that time. Man, I done slid through that shit, then slid through, Coty. They said, how the hell did this boy slide through being strapped to a table? I let you know it was hurting. I'm trying to get up out of there. But it literally that next year, it didn't take me to a year and a half, Coty, to actually get back to myself. It took me that long. I know nowadays these young cats are made differently, but back then in 2009, it literally took me a year and a half to actually feel like myself again. So De'Aaron King, man, make sure you take care of yourself. And I know your coaching staff is going to take care of yourself, Manny Diaz and Rhett Lashley, your offensive coordinator. So Miami, Alabama. Coty, who you got?
I got Alabama, but
well, let's do the points. Let's do the points. Are you going to take the points for Alabama? Because they minus 19.
I'm taking the points.
Favorite. Okay. Because I think they're going to cover too.
Alabama in openers years past have proved to us that they just suck the life out of teams, and I don't see this being no different. Despite having a lot of new players, I think Alabama's toughest thing will be the new OC, but they've had a full offseason together, so we'll see. But one thing I don't want to happen to Miami or their fans is to lose this game by any sort of measure and like lose hope in the season. This is a great test to open the season that will prepare them for anything that they could possibly face in the ACC schedule throughout the year. So I think this is a great opening test for them, and I think they'll learn a lot about themselves through this test, win, lose, or draw.
I agree with you. And one last thing before we move on from this game, I want to see the receivers for Miami, right? Their new tight end, Will Mallory. I want to see their Mike Harley, D. Wiggins. I want to see Charleston Rambo against that secondary that I mentioned, Malachi Moore and Josh Jobe. I want to see these receivers for Miami. Can they win one-on-one? Because, listen, Bama going to play man coverage. I want to see if they can win one-on-one coverage versus Alabama secondary, right? It's all about winning on one-on-one matchups. Can the skill positions of Miami do that against the Alabama defense? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. But I'm going to take Bama.
And as a receiver, give us a little insight if you was a Miami receiver going into this game against Alabama, the defending national champions. You know they put out NFL corners. This is an opportunity for you, Sean. What would you be thinking going into this game?
I'll say number one, and when you go into a game like this, and when I used to talk to different teams who was going to play night before big games, you got to take advantage of the opportunities when the opportunities are there. When the lights are shining, you going against Alabama, the defending national champions who just won a natty and come in at ranked number one. I can make my damn name off of this one game right here. That had to be your mindset.
Change your life.
But the opportunities that come to you, that present themselves, you have to take advantage of it. But I'll tell you another thing. My mindset going into a game against a top corner, anybody like that, shit, he put his pants on just like me. He put his pants on just like me. We love the same thing. But it's little things you got to study. Okay, if he's on this side of the field, what hand does he like to jam with? Does he like to jam with the wrong hand? Does he like to lunge and press coverage? Is he on his heels? Right? Because all that kind of stuff determines how I want to release. If I know a guy is staggered and he about to try to jack me up, okay, I can't be I'm a small guy. I can't be too aggressive on my release. I'm gonna have to be able to move back a little bit and smack those hands off. But at the same time, a guy who is back on his heels, right? You attack him, but you can't make your move at the line of scrimmage against guys like that because he's just gonna open the gate and run with you, right? So now they just gonna cut you off on the sideline and impede your route. So those are kind of the things mindset-wise from a receiver standpoint when you're going against guys in the secondary, Malachi Moore, who was a top freshman last year who played well, Josh Jobe, who people are very high on as a corner. These are the type of things, man, you want to think about, and that film doesn't lie. That film tells you everything. I tell guys that play the receiver position to play football, period, on offense. The secondary people going to tell you everything that's going on the football field. Because they can only play around for so long.
That's right.
Safeties in the secondary, guys in the secondary will tell you what blitzes are happening, what's going on, and what's transpiring because they can't play around too long. They're going to give you the answer to the test. It's about, do you know it? Have you studied it? And is that a part of your game? So the film never lies. Tendencies.
They don't call it a game of inches for no reason. I know majority of the plays I made throughout my career and my life came from film study. But I want to say one thing else about this game before we move on to the next game. Just so we're clear, this is a home game for Alabama.
Oh, 100%.
Alabama plays in Atlanta. Alabama plays in Atlanta every single year at the SEC championship. So just so it's clear, this is a home game for Alabama.
And I live right here. This right down the road. This is Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz.
Man,
Alabama played Mercedes-Benz more than anybody. Except for the Falcons.
That's right.
Except for the Falcons. So Alabama, man, this is a home game for them. That stadium is going to be packed. I know a lot of Miami fans, they're excited about this game, so they're going to be coming to this game. So I got Alabama. You got Alabama. Coty, now we got to move on to your alma mater, man. The biggest game of the day. Biggest game of the day. From the SEC, you have number 5, Georgia. From the ACC, you have number 3, right? Clemson's number 3. Number 3, Clemson. Number 3, Clemson. And when you look at the numbers, the betting lines on this game, Clemson is favored -3, but the total points is 51. And honestly, the way I feel about Clemson's offense, I'm taking the over on that. Because I said, when I seen 51, I said, now I understand Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense is solid. But they do have some guys that's going to be missing, right? Tyreek Smith, who transferred from West Virginia, he's not going to be playing in this game. I think that's going to be big for Georgia because I think if it's one area on this defense that they lost a lot of guys, it was in their secondary. They had a lot of guys from their secondary move on to the next level. And for Clemson, when you talk about Clemson, and they do Georgia, they get Darian Kendrick, who actually transferred from Clemson. So he get to go, he gonna be talking. He gonna be talking shit. Doesn't him mess around and jack one of them boys up on that sideline for Clemson? That boy gonna be talking shit.
Right down the road too. He from right down the road in Rock Hill, so this is like a home game for him. So you know he got something on his mind. He at the crib.
He gonna be talking shit.
Absolutely.
He ain't sparing nobody. And the way he left Clemson too, so you know he got a chip on his shoulder.
He got something on his mind.
But I tell you, he got a tough task. He got a tough task on his hand because they got a boy named Justin Ross, who is unbelievable, who I think gonna win the Biletnikoff Award this year. Justin Ross, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that.
His freshman year, I thought he was the best receiver on the team, and they had T. Higgins, Amari Rodgers. I mean, you've seen what T. Higgins did as a rookie.
Yep.
But it's gonna be tough for DK, man. But I'm excited to see it because he's a dog.
Yeah.
So
he is.
It's gonna be tough. But I think the toughest thing about that is going to be it doesn't matter where he lines up. He got a dog coming at him. Like that receiver room is flooded. Like I don't care whether you line up in the boundary, the field, or the slot. Because I'll tell you one thing, watch out for number 13, Brandon Spector. Anybody who knows Clemson, the little slot receivers, when they get that number 13, they special. And it goes back to even when I was there with Tyler Grisham. Then it went to Adam Humphries. Then it went to Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
And now you got Brandon Spector. I expect him to have a big year and really step on the scene. I'm betting money Clemson takes a shot the first play of the game.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
And that's not talking to any Clemson coach or anything, but the fact that Georgia lost 4 corners and Clemson has a quarterback of this caliber with those receivers, I'm going up top, pork chop, first play of the game. But one thing I will tell you.
Not only that, them boys big at receiver. Them boys big.
One thing I would tell you.
Boy, get your little ass out of here. You come in here messing with. Boy, get your little butt out of here.
Man, get that baby out the street.
Get that baby out the street.
Get that baby out the street. But one thing Georgia has going for them is they D tackle. Big Jordan
Davis. Oh, Lord. What they say?
Hey,
oh, my Lord.
he can single-handedly change the game. And he's actually from Charlotte. He went to Mallard Creek. He's at the
I didn't
crib.
know that.
He's from Charlotte. It's in his home stadium. Like, he's from here. So he can single-handedly change the game. So I think if Clemson can control him and not let him wreck shop, I think they got a chance to do everything they need to do. And it's going to be a running back by committee for Clemson. So it'll be interesting to see how they rotate those guys and how they divvy up the task of the different skill sets of all the backs.
Now, I tell you, I like the other guys on Georgia's defensive line too, man. They have a guy, Wyatt, who can eat up some space. You got Adam Anderson. I think Adam Anderson may have had 6.5 sacks last year for Georgia. And then you got linebacker Coty Dean. Coty Dean led this team in tackles, a good Georgia team last year in tackles. He led those boys in tackles. And then you got Amir Speed at the corner position. I think he's gonna be a guy to step up from them. You got Lewis Seen at the safety position. But JT Daniels, I'm expecting a big year from JT Daniels. This is the last year. I think this was the problem for Georgia, right? They didn't know who their starting quarterback was going to be, right? And I think if they would have had a JT Daniels, I think that game against Alabama early on last year would have been a little, not just early on, but late, would have been a little different than it was because Alabama broke away in that ball game. But, man, Georgia have a two-headed monster in the backfield. They have Zamir White and they have James Cook. Now, for that offensive line of Georgia, what I seen last year for them is not what I'm used to seeing from a Georgia offensive line. I'm used to seeing them win the point of attack, winning the line of scrimmage, put some people back, Georgia rushing that football because you look at all the running backs that didn't came out of Georgia, right? You look at all those guys that came out of Georgia. Tony Michelle, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb. You have all these guys, right?
Right.
That offensive line for Georgia, and it's going to be rough. Because the best group on the field, on the entire field, the best group on the entire football field during this game is going to be Clemson's defensive line. By far the best group on the entire field, Clemson's defensive line. So it's going to be tough.
They young and they super deep. And they literally got 5 guys playing DN that they can just say, go, run in, go. And you won't see a drop-off in production. I think the best chance Georgia has at moving the ball and really like putting pressure on Clemson is their 2 tight ends. I think we'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets from Georgia. And I think they'll try to find a mismatch with the linebackers against Clemson and force the safeties to come down and help in coverage. But it's going to be tough, man, because Clemson's defense is loaded. I know they had some games last year where they struggled, but those guys is a year older. And everybody's back besides DK that's at Georgia now, ironically. So I think those guys will be chomping at the bit, especially how they ended the season last year against Ohio State. So
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me tell you why I'm glad you brought that up is because I'm a fan of, and Coty, you know how much film I dive into. I'm a fan of teams studying the recipe that worked against an opponent that you're playing. And let me tell you how Ohio State last year beat Clemson in that semifinals game. Number one, you had a dual threat quarterback. We know JT Daniels not a dual threat quarterback, but they did it with tempo and physicality.
Yep.
Time I looked up, Ohio State was snapping the football. Clemson in the defensive line wasn't even getting lined up. They didn't give Brent Venables an opportunity to dial up the stuff that he wanted to dial up. And we all know he loves to cause chaos. He loves to bring those linebackers up in those A-gaps, mugged up. Now it confuses the offensive line. He loves to bring exotic blitzes. He always have a flavor of the day. He's going to always bring something that's going to try to confuse a quarterback. But if you're going no huddle and you're using tempo and you're physical when you're doing it, you don't give them an opportunity to dial up those things. So I wonder if Georgia has took a little something from Ohio State in that game. But I'm going with Clemson in this one, and I think Clemson going to win by more than 3. I think Clemson's actually going to win by double digits in this game. Who you got?
I absolutely got Clemson, but I don't know on the score. I don't want to shoot us in the foot, but I'm absolutely 100% riding with Clemson for sure. I expect a big game from Big Cinco, the running backs, the receivers, and I'm excited to see this defense, man. I want to see them fly around, and it's interesting you say Brent Venables and how he dialing it up and creating chaos. This year from Clemson, I want to see more of the players taking control. I want to see more of them looking at the offense and checking themselves in and out of things. Because as you mentioned, I feel like every time Clemson gets in trouble on defense, it's because they're looking at the sideline.
Looking to the sideline, trying to get a call.
They're waiting to get the check. I want to see the players take more control of the defense and not as much worry about getting in the perfect call, but getting 11 guys on the same page. Because those dogs Clemson got, if you got 11 guys on the same page, you can win 80% of the time, each snap. And that's all they need. They just need 11 guys on the same page and not guys standing up looking, not locked in. So it'll be interesting to see. But it's a hell of a test for both teams. And I think this is a must-win for Clemson if they want to make the college football playoffs.
I think so, too. I think Georgia – yeah, Georgia – I think Georgia I think they can lose this football game and still have an opportunity to get into the playoffs. Not Clemson. I don't think Clemson can lose this ball game. Like they can still win the ACC, but I think they're just going to be looked upon differently than Georgia would because Georgia's in the SEC.
And especially coming off that Ohio State loss last year, how they ended the season.
Yep.
And also, like I said, real quick, how this week is a home game for Alabama. It's a home game for Clemson too, because a lot of people don't know this, but ACC stands for another Clemson championship, man. Like, Charlotte is our second home.
He talking reckless today. Hey, Coty, I like it, dude. I like it. Yeah, hey, man, I like it, man. Hey, y'all see, if y'all out there playing corner, you got to be a dog, man. You got to have some shit to you that can't be coached, man. You can't just be sitting back there and I'm going to play corner. I'm going to be silent. Damn, you got to talk shit at some point. My goodness.
Man, scare money never made a purchase, man. If you look at the top corners, defensive backs in the league, outside of Stephon Gilmore and Xavier Howard, they talking, but they backing it up, you know?
100. All right, so we're going to move on to the next game. The next game that we have is on Sunday. On Sunday, we have the Florida State Seminoles versus Notre Dame. And the lines in that game, I think Notre Dame is favored 7.5, and the total for that is 55.5. And this game is interesting. So, because I want to harp on Florida State really quick before we dive into the matchup. I want to harp on Florida State, right? And Mike Norvell is their head coach, and Mike Norvell, in my eyes, I think he's an excellent coach. But for Mike Norvell coming into year 2, I think there's one thing that he has to address with his team, and that's gaining their trust. And the reason why I say that, Coty, is because you had the situation last year with Marvin Wilson and Mike Norvell telling the media that he's talked to his team when it came to the George Floyd situation in that whole nine. And Marvin Wilson, the team leader, said, no, he didn't. You know what I mean? So I think a little trust right there was kind of cut into this team. And then you had another situation when it came to COVID protocols with the receiver with Mike Norvell. So I think last year they were trying to climb uphill for so many battles. You had COVID already, but I don't think guys bought into Mike Norvell last year. Now, I think that was one of the main focus of him coming into year 2. Is getting that trust, right, from his players first. Because we talked about this earlier. If players don't trust you as a coach, there's no way you're going to be able to reach them on any level. But once they do trust you, they will do anything for you. They're going to ride or die for you. I promise you. We've been there. I've been there. You've been there as a player. When we have somebody that we can trust, hey, we're going to do whatever for them. When we don't have somebody we trust, they can't even say a damn word to us. Not one.
Right.
You hear me? No, I don't really hear you, Coach. No, I don't really hear you. But for Florida State, and rest in peace to Coach Bobby Bowden, because he's a guy that I grew up watching, Coty. So nobody knows this, but I actually grew up a Florida fan, right? My dad's from Gainesville, Florida. My mom went to the University of Florida. I grew up a Florida fan. Right, as a kid, I went to a lot of Florida games. I hated Florida State, but I love Bobby Bowden. I love Warwick Dunn, and I love Peter Ward. Peter Ward was my favorite receiver all the time.
That's true.
Peter Ward. So I grew up watching all those guys. I grew up watching Tolly Ward, Derrick Brooks, Snoop Menace, right? Peter Boulware, Robert Morgan. You know, all these guys. And looking at Mickey Andrews, who was a defensive coordinator for all those years. You look at all the iconic people who came through Florida State. So when I think Florida State in my mind, I think Florida State from them days. College football needs Florida State to get back to those days. You know what I mean? The ACC needs Florida State to get back to those days.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing like being at Doak Campbell Stadium, right? And I'm a little boy and I'm going to cheer against Florida State, but you hearing, oh, you know what I mean? And you hear that little chant, FLORIDASTATE, Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. Whoa, dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean? So I need Florida State, and I'm pretty sure Mike Norvell is going to be the guy to be able to do it. And I think one thing that's important for them this season, they made a bold move, right? They got Mackenzie Milton as their quarterback. And it's funny because I look at this game, because you look at the quarterback matchups, it's the battle of the transfer quarterbacks. Mackenzie Milton transferred from Central Florida. We all know about his gruesome injury. But then from Notre Dame, you got Jack Cohen, who transferred from Wisconsin. And all he ever did the last time we seen him play was throw for over 2,700 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, complete 69% of his passes. So I'm looking forward to these two teams, these two quarterbacks, showing what they can do, showing that they still can play the game of football at a high level at major universities. But for Florida State, I'm accustomed to seeing guys like Peter Ward. You never had to worry about the skill positions when you see the Florida State football team until the last 2 to 4 years. And for me, man, that's upsetting. So I'm looking forward to this year and seeing Florida State with the guy at the quarterback position, Mackenzie Milton, do his thing. But when you look at the opposite side at Notre Dame has some players, man. They have Kyron Williams and they have Chris Tyree, that two-headed monster at running back. They have Avery Davis at the wide receiver position. He got his feet wet even more last year. I think he's going to be good for him. But they got baby Gronk at tight end. Michael Mayer, they got baby Gronk at tight end.
I seen him against Clemson last year.
They got baby Gronk. And for people who don't understand how serious this is to be called baby Gronk, I played against, not me personally, I've been on teams that played against Gronk numerous of occasions. I haven't seen one of them damn defenders defend Gronk on the team I was on. The only person I can say I seen defend Gronk was Jalen Ramsey. He's the only person I ever seen defend Gronk and really shut Gronk down.
Man, when I was in Pittsburgh and we played New England, we had Gronk double. We had a corner under, not a corner. We had like a linebacker underneath and a safety up top, because when he was with Brady in New England, all they was doing was running the play action and running the deep over with Gronk. And if you a safety playing outside, he running away from you. If you a linebacker, he running away from you. So Gronk was hell on that field, man. I mean, he's still doing it at a high level. Like, arguably the greatest tight end ever, depending on who you ask. And people don't realize how big his ass is. Pause, like, but Gronk is huge. Like, he tall, he massive hands. Like, he's the real deal, man. Like, he's the prototype for sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing Notre Dame safety, one of the best safeties in the country. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Kyle Hamilton.
But, Kyle Hamilton. He's definitely 3 and out. You know, hopefully he's able to stay healthy this year.
Might be one of the most athletic players in college football. I would say top 3, top 4 most athletic college football players in 2021.
Yeah, he's the real deal, man. And Notre Dame's coming off a good year last year. I mean, they beat Clemson. Whether it was Trevor Lawrence or Big Cinco, it doesn't matter. Those are 2 elite guys. So I expect Notre Dame to pick up where they left off. And I think they have a chance to make the college football playoff. They'll need to have some things go their way, but it's a possibility. We'll see.
All right, so in that game.
Like, condolences to the Bowden family, man. I actually played for his son. And I played in a Bowden Bowl. That was my first game ever in college, the Bowden Bowl. So
shout out to that game. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame in that game just because I need to see more from Florida State. Who you got in that one?
I got Notre Dame as well. I need to see more from Florida State, man. And I think they're a couple years away. I think the biggest thing that's hurt Florida State over the last couple years is they've had no consistency with the coach. You know, they had Bobby Bowden all those years. Then they went to Jimbo, but Jimbo was under Bobby. So it was kind of like a smooth transition to when Jimbo up and left, and now it's just been in flux. And it's hard to recruit and create an environment when you have no consistency. I mean, hell, you know it. Like, it's hard to do that. So it'll be interesting to see. But like you said, we need Florida State winning and producing, man. They're kind of like the Knicks of the NBA. The NBA is better when the Knicks are winning.
Right.
That's how I look at Florida State and the ACC. I want to let you guys know about Filter 12 Media, a brand new podcast and digital media network covering college football by the people that know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Filter 68. The Filter 12 gives you insight into the game we all love by the people that have lived it. Trevor Knight and Bryce Petty covering the Big 12. Joshua Perry and Christian Hackenberg are covering the Big 10. Yogi Roth and Ted Robinson on the Pac-12. And, of course, we'll continue to be your go-to source for everything ACC football and more. Check the links below to find the rest of our shows. The Filter 12, where college football lives.
So we're going to get the last game. This is the last game we're going to talk about for y'all today. Oh, man. And I'm feeling so good.
Let them see your shirt. Let them see your shirt.
All right. So y'all, if y'all didn't know, my Louisville Cardinals will be facing Ole Miss on Labor Day, Monday. But that's not the best part. It's right here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And y'all, I got something to tell y'all. I get an opportunity to talk to the team the night before the game. Not only that, y'all, I get the opportunity to be the honorary captain for this game for the Louisville Cardinals. So I don't think y'all know how damn excited I am for this game. Because
hey, that's big, bro. I want to say congrats on that also.
Appreciate it, man. Because if people know me, they know I'm going to rep Atlanta and I'm going to rep the college I went to, no matter what transpired. That's two things for damn sure I'm going to always rep, Atlanta and Louisville. You know what I mean? Louisville is my home away from home. But I'm looking forward to this game, and I'm so excited, man, that they're able to play here where I live, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Louisville, man, when I look at Louisville, I'm going to start with their quarterback, Malik Cunningham. And for Malik, 2 years ago, he had a good year, right? You look at last year, he had a subpar year. It was more so the turnovers. He turned the football over a little bit more than he did the year prior. But I think this is going to be a big year for Malik Cunningham. And I know they lost a lot of offensive production, but I think they have the second best tight end in the ACC behind James Mitchell. His name is Marshawn Ford, a guy who can play the game really, really well. And I think they have some solid receivers. You got Jordan Watkins. You have Justin Marshall, Braden Smith. You have a good offensive line coming back. But I'm excited for this defense for Louisville, which I'm not going to lie, hasn't been too good last year. But you have a guy named Yaya Diaby, who's going to be good. Yashir Abdullah. The best group on this team is the linebackers. You have a guy, Yashir Abdullah. You have C.J. Avery. You have Monty Montgomery. Those three guys I can see playing at the next level. Not to mention, they just had a guy that was in their linebacking group last year, Dorian Etheridge, who went undrafted, just made the roster here in Atlanta for the Falcons because he balled out in preseason. So that tells you a lot about their linebacker group in Louisville. Those guys can play, but I think they have some good guys in the secondary. Kentrell Clark, I think he's going to be one of the best corners. Chandler Jones, he's going to do a good job. And then they have a transfer from Georgia Southern, Kendrick Duncan. I think Kendrick is going to be projected to be a late first, second round draft pick coming up if he has a big year. So I'm looking forward to seeing this defense play well. But they have a tough task. They have a tough task going against Ole Miss, a Lane Kiffin offense, and a guy, Matt Corral, who can throw the football. Now, at the same time, it's the same Matt Corral that threw a lot of damn interceptions in the game too now. So I'm not going to sit up here and crown nobody, and I know he didn't throw a lot of interceptions in the game before. But when I look at this matchup, and surprisingly, Ole Miss is a 10.5 favorite. And guess what the total is for this game? 75.5. That's how you know these teams are going to be scoring points. But I believe more in Louisville's defense coming in this year than I believe in Ole Miss's defense. Because I don't even think Lane Kiffin even care about defense. I think he just care about scoring points.
That's a fact. I think the biggest key for y'all, I got 2 keys for y'all, Louisville, that is. First of all, before we even get into that, why the hell is your jersey not retired?
Man.
At Louisville, why is Harry Douglas' jersey not retired?
Bro, my guess is
I need some answers.
I
need to call somebody. At least they got something right with letting you be the honorary captain in the A. So kudos to them and you on that. But back to the game. Ole Miss got a hell of a running game, man. Y'all boys going to have to put y'all's big boy pads on and tackle somebody. Yeah. They coming down here. It's no fair dodging. That shit going to be like team run in training camp. But they coming down here.
Well, we got to talk about team run. We used to do team run. Let me tell you how you know team run used to be serious. When they tell the corners and receivers who normally supposed to be doing one-on-ones, hey guys, we all coming down to team run today. Damn, we supposed to be doing one-on-ones. Nah, we want all y'all to come down to team run today. Hey, we live. Team run is live today. Going in there cracking.
But yeah, man. If y'all can stop the run and y'all's quarterback just take care of the ball. If y'all quarterback take care of the ball, y'all win this game in a pretty decent fashion, I think. Because, turnovers can change a game like that, man. Like, if I'm not mistaken, he may have had 18 interceptions last year. Is that right?
Oh, I can't remember the number, but he had a lot. I think he had about 7 more than he did in 2019. And you can't win. Like, I remember a game against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, and I'll give you credit, Pittsburgh last year had about 4 or 5 guys who's actually on NFL teams right now defensively. So, but still, you have to take care of football. That's one of the number one things coaches preach. Ball security, right? You want to win games, you got to take care of football. You had some turnovers in that game, but I think this is going to be a year. He actually learned from his mistakes last year. I think this is going to be a year where he steps up even more. Number one, because you don't have a Tutu Atwell. Number 2, you don't have a Des Fitzpatrick. Number 3, you don't have a Javian Hawkins. But they do have a solid guy named Jalen Mitchell that's going to be running that football, who came on late for Louisville last year. And another guy, Hassan Hall, who does good on kick returns as well. But if Louisville can take care of the football and possess the football and limit the explosive plays for Ole Miss, absolutely, that 10.5 that they got Louisville favorite, and I'm upset about it. How dare y'all disrespect us? Hey, y'all want to know my saying? I don't take too kind for disrespect. And I feel disrespected that y'all have Ole Miss at 10.5 favorites in this game. How dare y'all gonna disrespect my Louisville Cardinals? We got something for your ass. I promise you that.
Nothing would make me happier than the ACC running the table this weekend against all SEC opponents outside of Alabama, because I think that's a tough ask.
That's a different ball game.
I just want to see Miami compete and come out healthy. But I want to see the ACC run the table. But I'm looking forward to these games this weekend. And I think it's great for the kids because this is a year they get fans back, so they get to feel that energy and momentum. Not kids, young men. I apologize because they're not kids. These young men get fans back in the stadium. And last year was so crazy. It was a condensed season. It was guys sitting out. It was guys injured. I'm just excited to see these guys put on and make their dreams become a reality, man, because it's a great opportunity, and I hope they take advantage of it. And I'm excited as hell to watch because there's nothing like college football.
I like that, man. College football is predicated, it's built around the atmosphere, the fans, the traditions, right? So I'm like you said, man, I'm glad we get to have that this weekend, starting tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We get all those days of college football. But me and Coty, man, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to episode 2 of the One-on-Ones podcast.
2.